Hello to our listeners of What a Hell of a Way to Dad. This is an ad for the podcast you're listening to, and it is the only ad for the podcast that you're listening to that you will hear on this show. We have a little something called Patreon. Patreon.com/hellofaWayToDie. It is linked down below. The deal is you give us $5 a month and we give you bonus content every month, every week, as much as we can. It will also give you access to 8 years of our bonus content back catalog. But beyond just extra episodes, you'll also get exclusive video content, discounts in the store, the ability to vote on future Zoo Crew episodes, and access to the Discord that we share with Lions Led by Donkey. You can also check out the store at whatahellofawaytodad.com. There you'll find patches, stickers, pins, handmade items, and whatever things I find at a secondhand store that interest me. We appreciate your patronage in whatever way that you can give it to us, as well as your feedback. If there's anything that you want to hear on this show, please let us know. Sergeant Joker at hellofawaytodie.com. Once again, that's patreon.com/hellofawaytodie and whatahellofawaytodad.com. Thank you and enjoy the show.
You get the gray laminate floors. You get like the cheapest possible like fucking cabinets and shit. Like nothing really quite.
And the second you look at it, it crumbles.
Yeah, like nothing really quite fits like it's supposed to. Like everything seems like good in the pictures, but if you get close to it at all, like even like the apartment that I'm currently living in, like if you like look underneath like the like fancy like breakfast bar or whatever else, you can see that they didn't finish anything underneath it.
Everything
So
is
it's
the
just
build
like-
quality of a Cybertruck.
Yeah, like you just like or like the bathroom in my current apartment, like it only has one outlet, which is like just very strange for a bathroom because it almost always has like at least two.
Mine's only got one. I've got a small bathroom. My parents
I
don't
have
have any.
one.
My parents have a extension cord running up through the floor of the bathroom so they can plug stuff into.
I have two bathrooms, but not really. It's really normal for like the Netherlands that for the room that you shower in and the room that you shit in to be separate. And so you have like a toilet closet.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like I like it. I'd rather not absolutely detonate my fucking room I'm about to shower in. But like, it means that like one has, it also has a sink for you to wash your hands, but it's a sink so small that if you try to use it, you just shoot water everywhere. Like if it's the size of one of my hands. I know this because I have to wash my hand by putting soap on one hand and then putting my other hand on top of it and just kind of rubbing them together over this tiny baby fucking sink, and I'm still just sploshing water everywhere. There's no there's no outlets in it.
The only way to make that better is if you had the sink designed like, I don't know why Catholic schools in the 1970s built all their sinks like this, but they have a hot and a cold spigot for some reason. As if like, I would never want my hot and cold water to mix together inside of a pipe coming out of it. I need them to be in separate areas so that my hands can either be too cold or too hot.
This has one faucet, but the sink is a long rectangle in shape. It is not like
this
yes.
way or like toward.
No, long.
Okay, so wide.
Yeah, it's wide.
So it's a trough.
It's a trough for your hands. So you can't.
It's a pit. So you can do it as a piss trough too.
I mean, if you really want to, it's actually more effective if you pissed into it than try to wash your hands.
Right.
And just wash your hands in the toilet.
You've actually just been doing it wrong this entire time.
Like, whoever designed the sink did not ever use it to wash their hands.
You did not understand. In the Netherlands, you piss in the trough and you wash your hands in the bowl.
Everyone's been laughing at you this whole like. Look at this fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
He's washing his hands.
Fucking American.
He's washing his hands in the piss trough. What a fucking embarrassing.
I bet he doesn't even shit in the box, does he?
He doesn't even know how to use the three seashells.
The three seashells. Yeah. That's right. See, everybody, you don't have to have a kid to be a spiritual dad. You two can be in your middle ages and having to deal with all of this bullshit. It's great. It's wonderful.
People have said I have dad energy, and I don't know if that's an insult, a compliment, or a horny thing. I don't know, but here I am.
It's all of them. It's every single one.
Joe,
of them.
just buy a T-shirt that says "Daddy" and start wearing it around and see what happens.
Yeah. I just write a T-shirt that says "I'm your daddy." Speaking of, let's get into some news.
No. How's that segue?
So look, this one. I don't want to be too pithy about this one. You guys Neil Gaiman fans, or were Neil Gaiman fans at all? I know, Joe, you're a prolific reader of. I would imagine that maybe you've probably read some of the stuff, Carrie. I don't know.
I want to be very clear about what I'm currently reading because I feel like I'm currently reading the disgraced former mayor of Providence's autobiography, Buddy Cianci, Politics and Pasta is the name of it.
This is the most shocks book you could be reading.
Which is fantastic. I got it in a book gift exchange with a bunch of other lawyers.
Great. I love it.
Wait, what book did you give?
A collection of queer horror stories.
I think you lost that exchange, to be fair. Like, I would much rather be reading the queer horror stories than Politics and Pasta by a guy who I only know exists because of Family Guy.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. I also actually do buy his pasta sauce because
he sells pasta sauce.
Yeah, I mean he's been dead for a number of years, but yes, he sells he sells pasta sauce, and it's supposedly because it's supposed to be kind of like a Paul Newman thing where it's for charity and it goes to an educational thing. Except that someone did an investigation a number of years back and found that like at most maybe $100 had ever gone to any sort of charitable purpose.
But that kind of tracks, right? He's known for being corrupt.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why,
even in death,
is why I continue to buy the pasta sauce because I consider that a very funny bit, and you do in fact have to respect it.
Yeah, I respect the hustle. He's grifting even from beyond the grave.
Exactly. That's fucking amazing.
And you know about it too. That's the best part. Is that you're not even like. There are no scales to fall from your eyes. You're like, no, I know nobody's benefiting from this except for me.
And I respect it. But yeah, I mean that's like. I read a lot of like like classic like noir novels and shit. Like I've been reading a lot of Dashiell Hammett, who turns out was a comrade. He like did not name names to HUAC, and he like operated like a communist like bail defense fund during the 40s. So like that was like a surprising thing because everyone else you read about who's like you read about like Mickey Spillane, and you're like, oh no, you're exactly the kind of like rabid like right wing dude that I kind of thought that you were to be.
That's like reading any science fiction from like before 1960.
Yeah.
It's like, fascist, you're cool, fascist.
Right. Or, like don't read Ender's Game, just don't read what Orson Scott Card says about gay people.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But but as a result, so like most of my experience about like the way that I relate to Neil Gaiman and, Amanda Palmer is the way that I relate to most things, which is because through Boston, which is to say that because like they were kind of based here for a while, they just like pop up in the news every now and again, like local news, particularly like back in like the 2000s when the Dresden Dolls were more of a thing. And like they would like, like Amanda Palmer would show up in the media because she was playing a show in Cambridge.
Is that who she? Because like here's the thing, like I was never a Neil Gaiman fan, and maybe I just missed the wave or whatever. So I guess I've been redeemed on that one because people are always like, oh, you have to read this one or that one. I'm like, I don't want to. And I was unaware that his wife was like a public person as well. Apparently,
well, his second wife.
I do know that people said that she was like yelling at people on Tumblr a couple of years back, which I find very funny.
Amanda Palmer is straight up insane. She wrote a poem about the Boston bomber.
Yeah, about Tsarnaev.
About Tsarnaev that was really weird. And
was it horny? I feel like it was probably horny.
And it was also just bad. Like it was just like, I mean, it was badly timed. Like she did this not like,
I would argue there's no good time for that.
Well, I mean, that's right. But I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like, like no one was really doing 9/11 jokes like, on September 12th, 2001. But she like published this poem like 2 weeks after the marathon bombing. So it wasn't even like, it was like,
nice.
Well done. Six months later, it was very much just like, I need this to be about me. And then also
she's in a band.
Yeah, she was in a band called the Dresden Dolls, which and this is all real unfortunate because I loved the Dresden Dolls and I loved reading Neil Gaiman, and look, I have been in the community of people who kind of like, it's not really goth, it's that who is it, Tim Burton, that Tim Burton kind of gothy feel like, to it, where it's kind of spooky but kind of not,
the kind of gothy steampunk pastiche.
I mean, that's
exactly.
That's like modern goths. I mean, like when I was in school, that's who identified as goths. That's not modern. That's 30 fucking years ago almost. But like,
yeah, the problem is that community. And look, if you're in that community, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be right. There's a lot of predators and a lot of prey.
I feel like that's fucking every community, like for sure.
It is, but I feel like it's a little bit.
If you can call it a community, there's people within it preying on people within it.
Oh, absolutely,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
I know more about Neil Gaiman's like the things he's being accused of, which are fucking disgusting. I know more about those than I do any of his writing at this point, because like I tried to read one of his books. I think American Gods comes to mind, and I dropped it. And I hope we can invent the torment nexus from the science fiction joke, so we can imprison him inside of it. Because fuck this piece of shit.
Yeah, we often, I know Joe and I often talk about reading science fiction from 40, 50 years ago and saying like, well, you can kind of separate the author from
sometimes
from the art. Like,
yeah, not when they're a fucking serial rapist.
Right. In a way, like, okay, I can deal with Heinlein being a bit fashy. I can deal with Orson Scott Card being like, yeah, I don't like gay people. Fine, whatever. You're not actively doing anything to destroy these communities in some way. I can separate that. This one, there's no separation. Like, everything at this point, and I've read American Gods. I read some of Sandman. I like some of the movies that Gaiman has worked on. I was never a huge fan. I was never the super fan, but I always like, look, I'm glad that a guy like this, at the time, I'm glad that somebody exists and writes stuff like this, because, we don't really have that.